Home ownership is the biggest investment that you'll ever make in your life. We're talking financially, of course, but also emotionally. A place to call your own, to create a space that brings you peace and joy, and of course to create beautiful memories with the people that you love and care about. And on the flip side, it is the single best tool to guarantee long-term wealth for you and the people that you care about, and so that you're able to continue caring for them long after you've left this world. Stick around to find out what comes next after buying your first home, everything that you must do immediately to secure your home purchase, and lastly, how to multiply your investment to build generational wealth for decades to come. Coming right up. What's up guys, it's Vince, Hawai'i realtor, creator, and entrepreneur, here to put the real in real estate. It's finally here, the real last part to my home buyer's guide, and quite possibly the most important parts of them all. At this point, you can officially call yourself a homeowner, and your realtor has already given you the keys to your brand new home. First of all, I'd like to say that this is an amazing achievement. You should go out and celebrate, enjoy it to the fullest. But after all of the festivities are over and you've had time to shake the nerves, you might be wondering now, what comes next? Well, don't worry, because in this video I will cover 1. The post-closing home buyer's checklist. This is a breakdown of all the things that you must do immediately after you secured your first home. 2. How to build on top of your investments, as in what are your options and how can you make sure that this pays off for you in the end. And lastly, the key concepts that you must understand if you want to build wealth in an easy, stress-free way for generations to come, for each family to come. As always, I do have all the key points timestamped in the description, so if you'd like to jump around, by all means. Otherwise, let's jump right into it, the post-closing home buyer's checklist. The first thing that you immediately want to do when you've gotten the keys to your brand new home is to make sure you've set up all the necessary payments and you've informed all of the utility companies that you've transferred ownership to you. The most important payment, which is your mortgage payment, has 4 components. That is the principal, the interest, the taxes, and the insurance. Your principal is the actual amount of the loan itself. The interest is the amount that you're charged for borrowing that said principal money. Taxes refer to property taxes that you pay to the government, which is used to pay public services like schools, the HPD, fire department, etc., etc. And the insurance refers to your homeowner's insurance, which is used to secure your home from any losses or damages, like from a fire, or like if you're on an island like us, from a tsunami or hurricane. Now, normally this payment is set up for you already while you're in escrow. And yes, you do pay taxes and insurance to escrow as well. It does make it easier for you to make all these payments if it is going towards one single payment combined. Now, this is both a benefit to you and the lender. For you, it's good because typically, like an insurance or taxes, you pay a lump sum amount either biannually or during tax season. By paying it through escrow, escrow pays it for you in a sense, and then you get to break down your large sum insurance premiums into a monthly payment instead. In the time being, as you're making the payments, that taxes and insurance portion of your mortgage payment is stored in an escrow account that was made specifically for your home purchase, and it's stored there until the time is come to pay it off. This is also an extra assurance to the lender because they do have interest in your home, since you are borrowing a loan to pay for this home, that it is being paid on time. So typically your mortgage payment is due 30 days after you've closed on your home. If, for example, you've closed at the end of the month, like right now at the end of October, then more than likely it would skip over November and you don't start paying your mortgage payment, your first mortgage payment, December or the first week of December. Now, I say this like it's a free month of mortgage, but it isn't. Technically, you did pay for this portion. You prepaid it while you were in escrow. It was calculated into your closing cost. Anyways, like I said, it should have been taken care of for you while you're in escrow, your mortgage payment. But if it hasn't, do make sure that it was done, and also it is set up as auto pay and you don't even have to think about paying it. Now, as for the utilities companies, you do want to contact your local electric, water, gas companies, as well as your internet and cable, and you want to let them know that you have new ownership of the home. At that moment, you can also set up automatic payments. You also want to inform your HOA, your homeowners association, by contacting the association manager. Let them know that you are now the new owners as well. Again, this is usually taken care of and can be taken care of a week before you have closed on your home purchase, but if it hasn't, just make sure you do it as soon as possible. The next thing you're going to want to do after you've set up your necessary payments and inform your utility companies is to inform and change your address as you go wherever you can. The first thing you should immediately inform would be your mail, like the US Postal Services, as well as the DMV, your local banks, as well as medical and dental. Now, this isn't immediate, but the next thing that you can possibly do is to inform your children's schools if you have children, as well as any other subscriptions you might have going towards your previous address. You want to have those changes made. After you've done all of that, the next thing you're going to want to do is to keep all of the documents that you received while you were in escrow. I'm talking about that stack of documents you got when you signed in escrow. This includes that closing document that has all of the finances broken down, as well as the inspection report that you got when you did the home inspection earlier in escrow. Along with these, if you got any warranties from the previous owner, you want to hold on to those as well as any records of any previous home renovations that were done by the previous owner. You want to keep records of that. And from here on, you also want to keep records of any home improvements that you do with this home. Keep all receipts and invoices from any purchases you may have made. I do recommend not only storing a physical binder at the home, but if you could back up these files in a backup drive, an external hard drive, or even maybe like a Dropbox. Now on to the actual home, you're gonna want to secure your home. This means changing out the current locks, but if you can't do that immediately, I do at least recommend to make sure that there's no spare keys around the home that could be used to enter your home. You also want to change the garage code, and you want to get familiar with your smoke detectors, your emergency shutoff valves, the circuit boxes, and any appliance manuals that were left to you. Real question, do you guys actually read appliance manuals? My dad would kill me if I said this, but I don't. But don't follow my example, don't disappoint your fathers. Please, read your manuals. Okay, so moving on, you're gonna want to, of course, furnish your home if you don't have any furniture from your previous home. I do recommend, if you're gonna do this, consider opening a new line of credit, like a credit card or a loan specific to buying these things. The last thing that we want you to do is to touch that emergency fund that we advise that you saved on top of all the other things you're supposed to save for the purchase of the home. You don't want to touch that. That is your emergency fund. That is for a rainy day if you somehow can't make your mortgage payment, because that comes first. Now, if you have extra funds outside of that 3 to 6 months of saved emergency fund, then by all means, you can absolutely use that to furnish your home. But again, consider opening a line of credit instead. Now in escrow, you did have the decision to opt out or in of getting a home warranty for your home. If you've opted out of doing this, I do recommend, at least in the future, that you consider getting a home warranty. Just to be clear, the homeowner's insurance is to insure your home for things that could happen, like damages or loss from natural occurrences or a fire. The home warranty is to ensure things that will happen. Your home appliances have an expiration date. They will wear and tear over time. It's better to insure it and pay it little by little now than for it to break unexpectedly later and you paying a large amount out of pocket that could really put a dent in your wallet. So again, I recommend you consider that. And then second to last, you're gonna want to file your homeowner's tax exemption. In Hawaii, you can file for a tax exemption just for being a homeowner, meaning that you do not owe taxes up to a certain amount just for being a homeowner. Now, filing your homeowner's tax exemption does depend on when you closed on your home. For example, if you closed now in October, the deadline was September 30th. So technically, you do not have to file this tax exemption until the next following September 30th. Of course, you could always file this early, and once you file it the one time, you only have to do it that one time for every home you live in. So every single time you move to the next home, you'll have to file it again, and so on and so on. And then lastly, have fun. Introduce yourself to the neighbors, of course with COVID in mind. Have that housewarming party. And if you close your home just now, for example, the holidays are just around the corner, you should get revved up for that. You are a homeowner now. You can do whatever you want with this home. Isn't that such a great feeling? But really, you work so hard for this, it's only right that you enjoy this as much as you're able to the fullest. Okay, so now that covers everything that you must immediately do to secure your home. Now let's move on to the future. Thinking ahead, building up your investment. So let's be real here, like I always do on this channel. Technically, your home is a liability until paid off, meaning it's not an actual asset that's bringing you in any kind of money. It's not meant to be a short-term fast cash way to get rich. And if anyone told you that, I'm sorry, they're wrong. It's not that at all. It is a long-term investment. Real estate is somewhere you can put your money tuck it away, and not think about it for decades. Just sit on it. So that way your future self can thank you for it later. One day you'll wake up and realize that your home has doubled or tripled in value. And for some of you, you may wake up instantly a millionaire with $1 million asset completely paid off. That is exactly how a lot of self-made millionaires today became millionaires. They just made the payments and put their money away without even thinking about it. 30 years later, their house is paid off and the economy has kicked up its value and appreciation, and there you go. It's kind of that simple. The most complicated and hardest part would be to get started, to buy that first home. Now I say this, but the great thing is you don't actually have to wait 30 years when it's completely paid off to benefit from this home, to reap the benefits. You can utilize the power of home equity. So what is that? What is equity? Home equity is the value of the homeowner's interest in the home. In other words, it's the current market value of your home minus its liens and its obligations. So we're talking about that payment of the loan that you have to pay off. That's considered a lien. The amount of equity in your home is affected by two things. It's the amount of equity in your home, or its value, fluctuates as you pay down that mortgage. Also, it fluctuates when the real estate market affects its value. Let me dig a little deeper into that using Hawaii as an example. If you've been paying attention at all to the real estate market here in Hawaii or bigger cities like parts of California, Washington, New York, those types of places, you'll know that the prices of homes have skyrocketed. This will eventually hit a ceiling and come back down to normal prices. But the aftermath of this is that it brings the overall market value of all the homes here at a much higher level than before the pandemic. Now, a huge difference maker between the Hawaii real estate market and all the real estate markets in the mainland is that we exist on an island. We can't just keep building more homes. We don't have a lot of land for that. This means that the market value of homes in Hawaii will always be increasing because the demand of the land itself is so high. Of course, this is both a good thing and a bad thing for the people of Hawaii. If you haven't bought a home already, it's just going to get more expensive to buy. Now, if you've bought a home already, then you can guarantee that your home will always increase in value from here on out. And again, back to equity, because your land is so valuable and it's limited out here, your appreciation increases a lot faster than homes from the mainland. And like I mentioned, you don't have to completely wait till it's paid off to use it. After a certain amount of time, the equity that you built from paying it down, and as the market fluctuates and increases its value, you can use that equity almost like cash. More accurately, it would be more like a line of credit, like a credit card or a loan. Now, I will go into more detail about this concept later in this video, but understand the most important thing is that buying a home here in Hawaii is very powerful compared to buying a home in the mainland. Well, most parts of the mainland. Okay, so moving on from that concept of home equity, let's go over your options as a homeowner. Now, the traditional way of building wealth through real estate or your home purchase is to use that equity to either pull out and use to improve your current home to increase its value that way, or you can completely sell your home and use the equity or the sale of that home to furnish buying a bigger, more newer home that has more potential for growth. Other than those two options, one other way that you can possibly build wealth and maybe at a faster rate would be something we call the B.R.R.R.R method. Disclaimer, this is free game, by the way. It's not a profound new method that is kept under the rug, sort of. This is something that many people in my profession know about and they teach others as well. Now, back to the B.R.R.R.R method, don't make the mistake of just sitting on your home and doing nothing to it and just letting it depreciate or lose its value over time. Yes, your home is supposed to be a place of comfort, again, that emotional aspect of buying a home, but that doesn't mean it can't also be that financial support for you and your family. So how do we do this? Let me explain the B.R.R.R method in detail. The B.R.R.R method is originally an investment strategy that home flippers use for distressed properties. Distressed properties that nobody wants to buy or sell. It's too much of a hassle to work with. That's what home flippers take and they buy it undervalued, they do all the hard work and then resell it back onto the market for current market value. Now, but that does not mean that the B.R.R.R method cannot be used similarly to a regular homeowner, you see. So let's break that down. Again, the B.R.R.R method is buy, rehab, rent, refi, and then repeat. So the first thing we're going to want to do is buy a home. For a regular homeowner. Most likely you will buy it at market value. Currently, some people are buying it above market value, but just for hypothetical situations, for this example, at market value or maybe possibly even a deal, right? But as I mentioned previously with the home equity in Hawaii, because you bought your home in Hawaii and your land is so valuable, you don't necessarily even have to buy a home undervalued to gain a significant amount of appreciation or that equity in your home. Once you bought your home and over time, you can go into that rehab step where you basically make home renovations to your home, little improvements as you go, starting with the most important fixes such as the kitchen and the bathrooms. Those tend to be the most important stuff, and then after would be the cosmetics or additional things like, let's say, solar, electric. Now the key to this is to not use your own cash to do rehabs or renovation to your home. You want to rely on banks that they have tools for homeowners to use to improve your home, such as the HELOC, which is the home equity line of credit, and then you have certain loans such as like the home improvement loans. You want to make sure it is of low interest, so there's not much to pay back, but use those banks and the tools that they offer to help improve the value of your home without having to dip into your own pockets. Okay, then over time, as you continue to live in the home and you've made those improvements, you've just increased the value of your home from those improvements, but also as you're paying down that mortgage and the external factors like the real estate market kicks up, even more appreciation in your home, your equity increases. And then once you're ready, you can eventually make the climb, the home ownership ladder. Let's revisit those options that you had previously. You can either altogether sell your home and then use the proceeds from that sale to finance buying a brand new home or a larger home that has more potential for your equity to increase or the value to increase over time. The other option is to do that refi step, the cash out refinance. You refinance your current loan and thus you are able to take the equity from that and convert it into cash. That cash you can use to basically finance your second home. And then the first home you were previously in can be turned into a rental and then become passive income for you. Money that you make without actually having to clock in or trade your time for money. It's money that is made while you're sleeping. That ideal of making passive income versus your active income is one of the key things, the key concepts to basically be financially secure, where money's coming to you and you don't necessarily have to go to work for it. It gives you the option to live your life not based off of the finances. You can absolutely continue to go to work if you love your work that much, but just having that security where you don't have to live your life based off of your bills, go to a job you don't like because you need to pay your mortgage payments or any of those kinds of things. That's the whole idea. And then that last step is repeat. Over time, as you continue to make that leap between homes, you either will have, at the end of this, a whole bunch of homes, assets paid off underneath your name, or the other option is if you didn't want to have multiple properties underneath your name, essentially becoming a landlord, then just making that gradual step between a smaller home into the next, into the next, into the next could still build you significant amount of equity and secure you financially for the rest of your life. Disclaimer, this is absolutely a simplified and sped up version of this whole process. I'm just breaking it down for you so you understand the concept of how important it is to invest in real estate, your first home, and then don't just sit on it, but be smart about it and see it as a financial opportunity as well, not just a home to live in. Understanding these key concepts alone will change your whole perspective of how wealth is built. That first step, actually buying your first home, is probably the hardest part, right? And then over time, exponentially, it gets easier for you to build wealth. You just have to make that commitment and start as soon as possible. Okay, so that being said, building generational wealth, as you can tell, is not glamorous, right? You're not going to be living in a mansion at 40. You're absolutely not going to be owning a yacht in your 50s. I mean, maybe some of you will, who knows? But this is absolutely the safest and most guaranteed way to build long-term wealth for every average American, just by choosing to invest in this and looking at it in that perspective. And then on the side, if you have the opportunities, invest your money elsewhere as well. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. It's just good to know that if you have a home like this, that over time, that is your security blanket if those more riskier ventures end up not working out for you. Again, I understand how tall of a wall this is to climb. It's only getting more expensive and harder for our generation to own a home. I mean, I'm experiencing this just as much as you guys are. I think there's kind of a gray area right now, and a lot of people are wondering even if home ownership is even worth it these days. And I'm here to tell you that it absolutely is, and it will not ever change anytime soon. I'm a big believer that continuing to have this mindset of steadily and slowly building wealth will lead to more blessings. And if you didn't come from wealth, then it's your responsibility to make sure that if that's what you want, that you take the opportunity now, and it is still possible in your lifetime to achieve it. And then you can be that blessing for your family, the one that started building wealth for everyone, and getting that momentum going for everyone else, inspiring others. So I hope you found value in this guide, and I hope even just a tiny bit that I point you in the right direction. I hope this wasn't too difficult to understand, and even if it's not, that's okay. You're not really supposed to understand this the first time around. That's the reason why I've made this guide. And of course, that's also the reason why there's such things as real estate agents and professionals like us here to be your guide, to be there as a resource. The goal here is to lessen your learning curve. So when you decide to do this, we make the least amount of mistakes, and each time around it gets easier and easier, and eventually you become an expert in this yourself. So that completes my home buyer's guide. If you're still here and you're going to continue to follow this guide, first of all, thank you for being here and the support. But also, I promise you, just by watching these videos alone, you are better off than most people trying to buy a home. And you've just put yourself years ahead of most people. I wish you luck in your home journey. And if you're needing any assistance, I, Vincent Santa Barbara, will be here if and when you need me. Mahalo for joining me, and have a great day. Have a blessed life. Take care of yourself. I'll see you when I see you. Peace.